All right. We're trying to pick up where we left off, where I had this phone call and then the bell rang. I'll review just a little bit, but we're talking about the three box model of memory, where information kind of comes in from our senses, uh, all of our senses. Remember, it goes into to what's known as sensory memory, um, where which has a large capacity because it's getting everything that you're experiencing at that moment. It's all sensory information, but it's very brief. Um, Basically, a half second for visual and 2 seconds for everything else. Um, and then it's decided whether it needs to be forgotten or whether it's going to be transferred to short-term memory. And this is kind of where we ended today. Gets into short-term memory again. Now, short-term has a very limited capacity. There's not very much stuff that gets there. You're looking at storage for up to about 30 seconds. Again, if there's no rehearsal, meaning if you've done nothing with it, if you don't write it down, if you don't repeat it, even if it's thought, yeah, I need to remember this, if you do not rehearse it or don't do anything with it, think about it, whatever, then it is forgotten. So, and then short-term memory is involved in all conscious processing of information. If you're given two things, you have to decide what to do with it. They're both going to be put in short-term memory so that you can sort of make your decision. But anytime you're consciously processing information, when you were trying to memorize that list of words I gave you at the beginning of class, those things were moved into short-term memory. It'd be an interesting thing to do right now to see if you can remember how many of those 16 words you could remember now. So now that you're, probably 6, 7, 8, 10 hours removed from the list of words, how many will you remember now? And it's a good example how most of those words, they were in short-term memory, and even now we're a half hour from actually having you have done that right now. And I wonder if I walked into your classrooms that you're in during third period, how many of you would actually be able to remember any of those words? So, but within short-term memory, again, if it's not important after that 30 seconds, if there's no rehearsal, boom, it's kicked out, it's forgotten. Okay? Or it is moved into long-term memory. The thing about long-term memory is, as of now, science suggests that long-term memory, I want you to see this, has unlimited capacity. Once something gets to long-term memory has unlimited capacity. And some scientists believe that memory is thought to be permanent. Once it's in long-term, it's never forgotten. Now, it can be moved, as you can see down here, but it's permanent. And this is also where information is organized and indexed. So think about that list of words again. Let's say I ask you to repeat that list of 16 words tomorrow when you come into class. All right. Hopefully, if some of those words were moved into long-term memory, you'd be able to retrieve them. Now, remember what I said, how this is involved in conscious process of information? We actually do not process from long-term memory. If we need to pull something out of long-term memory, whether it be an event, a birthday party, a list of words, what you're trying to, things on a test, whatever, it is not processed in long-term memory. It is actually processed in short-term. What happens is that information gets moved or encoded or transferred from long-term memory to short-term memory, and then it is processed. All the information that we remember, that we process, is done in short-term memory. So although it's been moved, it's gone from sensory memory to short-term memory, then into long-term memory, if we are going to actively remember it, if we are going to speak about it, if I want to talk about the hunting trip I had 2 years ago. I'm going to move that from long-term memory into short-term memory in order to process and speak about and tell somebody about that trip. All right. Just want to make sure you are clear. We don't process in long term. We move things from long term to short term because short term is where the process of information actually takes place. And many times it's forgotten here or it's transferred back to long term memory. So it can be a cycle. All right. A little more on sensory memory. Again, this is a split-second holding tank for all sensory information based on Sperling's research in iconic memory. Do you remember the letters and where they were? I'm sure there's probably one or two. We can do that again just for kicks and giggles. What do you see? KZR, QBT. Here's the thing about that is that I rehearsed those first 6, so I can remember what some of those are. If you did not rehearse that, then you're not going to remember it. There it is again. We'll get into iconic and iconic memory is sight memory. And echoic memory, think of echo, is sound. So, some of you have talked about how you learn better visually or you learn better auditory. That means this type of memory is better at moving things into short-term and long-term memory. All right. Excuse me. So, but again, iconic memory deals with sight, things that you see, that flash that you had when that flashed on, then off. All right. Versus the echoic memory, which is me actually saying KZR, QBT, SGN. All right. Short-term memory. So the stuff we encode from sensory goes to short-term memory. Events are encoded visually, acoustically, or semantically. We've all done this. I did it this weekend. Walked downstairs to get something, and then my mind started thinking about something else while I was on the stairwell. And then I got down there and thought, what did I come down here for? So, of course, the joke is short-term memory clinic. But generally, this is going to hold about 7 things, plus or minus 2, depending on how quick you are to forget things or to move things or how long it stays in there. But generally, you can only put stuff in short-term memory, only about 7 things. So this is a very limited capacity. And you're only going to hold it for about 20 seconds at a time. Somebody suggested, I think it was Jevden said that he recalls numbers a lot better than he does letters or words. And, Jordan, that's actually most people, believe it or not. We have a tendency to recall digits better than we do words or letters, whether it's 2 digits, 3 digits, or whatever. We have that ability. We have a tendency to recall numbers better than we do letters. So, and this is how this gets into kind of how the activity we did first thing today. Chunking is that we will organize items into familiar, manageable units. Of course, that's Chunk from the Goonies. But the group where they were 4 words were chunked together, words like canine, predator, pack, I forgot what the third one was. Wolf, maybe. Or the different types of energy. All right, those were all chunked together by subject, and it was easier if you could remember the subjects. Then you could remember the actual words that went with that. So the first way to get things from short term into long term is chunking. Look at these numbers here: 1492, 1776, 1812, 1941. All right, can you chunk that into things that can be easily remembered? How about 1492? Columbus sailed the ocean blue. 1776, Declaration of Independence. The War of 1812. And the Pearl Harbor bombing in 1941. So you see there are, again, there's just these are random digits, but obviously they're put together to make a point. In you're chunking it 1492, 1776, 1812, 1941. So that's chunking. Carrie had mentioned one of the things that she used was a mnemonic device. All right. Mary very easily makes jam Saturday unless no plums. All right, does anybody know what that might be a mnemonic device for? I'll give you a couple seconds. How about Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, which technically Pluto's not a planet. It's a Zeke, my boy, can tell you all about Pluto. He's all about space. But anyways, you get the idea. Carrie used a mnemonic device when she was memorizing her list of words. So again, example of mnemonic devices. I got a whole list of them if you really want them here. And then finally, rehearsal. We've talked. That's just doing something with the information, writing it down. Explaining it to somebody else is a big one. That's why I try to have you all work in groups so that if somebody doesn't understand it, it helps both of you because you're going to see it, you're going to hear it, and then you've got to explain it. And when you explain it to somebody else, there's a lot of things cognitively that is happening. And that is a great way to get things from short-term memory into long-term memory. And so now long-term memory. Again, unlimited storehouse of information. There's so much stuff that can go into long-term memory. It really can boggle the mind. This is also where explicit or very declarative memories are made or are kept, or implicit, non-declarative memories. Explicit memories are episodic memories, things that, remembering a party. Or an episode of something. Semantic memories, things you read, or ideas. And then implicit memories. These are things you do, procedural memories. How to ride a bike, how to shoot a basketball, how to throw a rise ball, things like that. They're not they're not explicit. It's just, and you don't really think about it. A lot of this you might hear as muscle memory. All right, this is a long-term memory as like a procedure. Shooting pool, okay, or conditioned memories, where again you do things almost without thinking. We're not going to do this. Well, yeah, I'll give you some time to do this. Take out a sheet of paper and name all the presidents you can. We've had, 48, 49, 50, something like that. 49. I used to know all of them. When I was in middle school, 6th grade, we did a presidential America program, and we had to. This was 1992, and we had to rap all of the presidents. Well, what's interesting is now, as I'm looking back at it, they were chunked into 4 groups. So you just had, if you could remember the first one, you could move on to the second one. So George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, John Q. Adams. I can't remember. But they were in groups of 4, and all the way up to, at the time, it was Bill Clinton. Of course, from Bill Clinton, you go George Bush, Barack Obama, Trump. So, and of course, you'll remember the big ones. You'll remember. No, I'm not going to. I'll let you do it. But anyways, I'm just rambling right now. But pause it and see if you can write down all the presidents. So here they are. So, anyways, actually, I'm going to end this video here, and we will continue with this probably tomorrow. Have a good day.